you're going to get challenged what I call the army of the aliens, which is your own self. And what that is your subconscious. Your subconscious is going to send you what I call negative thoughts, like this one. You're in a 17th, 18th hole. You're putting for a birdie, a crucial situation. As you're getting prepared in your pre-shot routine, you might hear in your head, oh, you're going to blow this one again, like you've done so many times. And for the unprepared golfer, the golfer who doesn't have a method, that's probably enough to shake them in their boots or to give them a little sweat in their palms, their heart beats a little quicker, their mind goes off a little bit, and they don't sink that putt. That's frustrating, especially when they know they have the talent and they've done it before.
Hi, this is Jeff Pavlina from Pinehurst, North Carolina. I play at Pinehurst number 6, and this is Golf Smarter number 938.
Camilo Villegas, Aaron Rye, and Cary Valentine on how pros overcome adversity.
This is Golf Smarter, sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Green.
It's my time of year where I get to say, aloha, Cary. Welcome back to Golf Smarter.
Aloha, Fred. It is awesome to see you, and mahalo nui loa for having me on. I always appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, you provide us with some really fascinating content every year. We've been doing this. How many years have we done this now?
Gosh, 6, 7, 8, I don't know.
Yeah, where you go out to the Sony Open, you go to the couple different PGA events at in Hawaii, and you bring a recorder with you and you find a way to get close to these guys and start having conversations with them. And this year, thank you so much for saying, yeah, I'm here with Golf Smarter Podcast. It's like, nice. Nice.
For sure. Yeah.
So this year, like last year you had like 5 or 6 different players that you had conversation with. This year it's down to 2.
Yes.
Were there barriers that you had to cross? What was the deal this time?
A number of things, a number of factors. One is, I would say, the presence of LIV is one, where some of the guys
That's interesting.
Some of the guys that I've interviewed over the years are now playing on LIV. Some of the guys that I'm interested to interview are playing on LIV. So that's a part of it. So the field obviously is full at Sony Open, but it's also, since it's the first full field event, it has a lot of rookies in it. And so there's less of experienced golfers that I'm looking forward to interview and things like that. But I'm obviously also interested in talking to rookies, like, you know, I've done in the past.
Sure.
And so that was part of it. The other element is, unfortunately, my schedule during that particular week was just really busy. And so my chance to interact with the golfers was a bit more limited. And so, you know, it's all like I just show up and see who's around and who's able to talk. And, you know, my things like Stuart Sink, who I've interviewed a number of times, and just have a fabulous time interviewing because he's so incredibly candid. And we saw each other. He was on his way to working on some bunker shots, and we talked, and he said, yeah, come, you know, check back with me in a little bit. I'll be, you know, back on the practice green. And I was interviewing some of the other golfers, and by the time I got back, he was gone. And then, you know, those kind of things happen, you know?
Yes, they do.
It's just all in the moment. And the other thing, interesting enough for me, I was also busier at the golf course, talking to people. People were interested in things I'm doing, and different kind of partnerships and things like that coming together. So it was just like a really unique moment. It was like, oh, this hasn't happened before, but okay, here we are.
Go with it. Just go with it. And
nonetheless,
go ahead.
Nonetheless, I'm really excited for the listeners to hear the interviews, because there's some interesting elements in there.
Yeah. And what we've done in the past is we've broken it down by topic and then like played the different cuts from each of the guys. This time we're going to do something different because you have two players here, and we'll talk about that in a second. But we're just going to run your interview with each of them intact all the way through.
Okay.
And the Aaron Rai is one of them, Indian player. Didn't we have him on before?
Yes, last year. He was a rookie last year. He is Indian descent from England.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And he holds the world's record for the most putts in a row. They have these competitions, and
most hold putts in a row.
Yeah.
Because I probably hold the record for the most putts in a row.
Yes, most successful putts, and holds the Guinness Book of World Records for that.
Do you talk about that with him?
I did last year.
Last year
we did.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if anyone's interested, check out last year's interview.
Please do, and I'll put in the show notes when it was before. Okay, so what did you? Because the interview with Aaron is longer than the second one that we have with Camilo Villegas, but you got into more stuff with him, and he remembered you. It was really sweet. He remembered you, and he enjoyed the conversation that you had together.
Yes, and I too. It was special. Seriously, just human to human last year talking, and it was a great connection. And that gave me the little bit of an oomph to dig in a little bit to him this year. And you can hear it at the end of the conversation, and I'll talk to you about it, because I think there were some interesting elements for every golfer to take from what Aaron was saying, and some things that I think he can improve upon.
Yeah, I thought so too. So here's what we're going to do.
And let me just humbly stated that. Yet, I incredibly appreciate these guys' talents and gifts, especially with Aaron, and I humbly say that. So
okay. Thank you for saying that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a break right now, and we'll come out of the break with a full interview with Aaron Rai, and then we'll take another break after that, and then come back and discuss it. So we'll be back. Well, I won't be back. Cary and Aaron Rai will be back right after this.
Aloha, Aaron.
How's it going?
Very, very good. I just had a very appreciative conversation with you when we spoke. I mean, I talked to a lot of golfers, but something was different talking with you.
It was really nice. It was a very different kind of interview. It felt a lot more personal than generally the generic questions that we normally have, which was really nice. Yeah.
So this must be, I would imagine, like an amazing process from where you were last year and playing all the tournaments to now and starting again, this second, in that sense, this second season. And do you have certain goals? Are you resetting, looking at things like from where things were last year to this year and go, okay, were there certain goals you reached, certain goals that you were like, yeah, I really want to work more on whatever that would be?
Yeah, I try not to set too many external goals in the form of results or achievements. I have in the past, but I've felt like that hasn't really helped to push me forwards. I think when I focus more on the game and the skills of the game, I think I enjoy the game more, and I probably play better as a result. So my goals, I guess, are more kind of based on improving the game and just keep trying to learn about myself and try and do the little bits that I can a little bit better and just see where that takes me. I think if I keep continuing to improve, then hopefully the results will just follow. And I know that sounds very cliche, but I really try and follow that as much in my golf and in areas outside of my life, rather than trying to have external achievements. I think if the internal parts are good and you do the right things, hopefully the other things just follow.
Well, there's certain elements that you saw during this season, playing that you go, okay, I need to adjust to this, or what were you kind of tweaking or learning or growing? If there's anything specific that you'd be happy to share.
Yeah, so within the game, for instance, last season my putting was good in certain weeks, but it was a little bit off on other weeks. I didn't feel like the consistency was quite there. So that's probably the biggest area of focus, even over the last couple of months in the off season. Pretty similar with my wedge play, probably from kind of 30 to 100, 110 yards. I think that's another area that can be just tightened up a little bit. The good is good, but it's just a little bit too inconsistent. I think also just improving my play out of the rough as well when I miss fairways. Just trying to get a little bit stronger and just improve a little bit of technique in those situations. And those are the main aspects, really. Just trying to, as I said, get a little bit stronger as well to help out of the rough, but also to help with a bit of injury prevention moving forwards, and hopefully with a little bit of increase in distance in the coming years if I keep continuing to get fitter. So those are the four main areas really within the game.
And any kind of mental game thought journey process that you saw, okay, I'm adjusting to this, like things that maybe you didn't expect or did expect, but was like, okay, I gotta work on this and talk to my dad more on X, Y, and Z or whatever.
Yeah. Just trying to, again, very cliche, but trying to really stay as present as possible and really, just really try and stay as focused, but as calm as possible. And I think getting that balance between keeping the intensity high, but also not so high to a point where you're drained at the end of the first round on the 18th hole, because it's very hard to stay in that mindset for 5 odd hours, which is how long we're out there. So I think getting that balance between really switching on and staying very present, but then in between shots to not let my mind drift too much, but also not to be too intense to a point where I can't keep the focus up for the duration of the round. So I think just figuring out what that balance is like, and also not trying to force it to be the same every day, because I think ultimately we're human and we are different on a day-to-day basis. So just kind of going with what feels best on that day and trying to read myself well enough to get the most out of myself mentally on a day-to-day basis, as well as what we discussed there with the game earlier.
Great. I know a lot of elite amateur golfers who, let's say, are playing around in competition and have hit a few shots that go OB, or just a few holes that are challenging for them, and they often find it difficult to rebound from that. And I wondered what your experience is like, maybe that could help them, or what if you've ever find that happens to yourself, or what do you do to kind of make sure you do your best to rebound in that sense?
I think one of the neat parts about golf is that whether we're here playing on the PGA Tour, or in your example, whether you're an amateur that's hit the ball OB a couple of times, there are certain feelings that you can relate to no matter what standard you are. I think for me, that happens to me as well, of course. And I think no matter how good your game is, no matter how good you are mentally, that's always a challenge to try and reset and refocus yourself. For me, I try and put things in perspective in the sense of the round, that let's say I'm 2 under and I've hit it OB. I just try and remind myself that I'm still not in a bad position, even if I make 5 or if I make 6 and make double. That it's frustrating, but there's still a lot of holes to play, and maybe we've still played some good golf to get to that point. If I'm maybe 2 over and I've hit it OB, maybe it's a little bit more difficult to recenter yourself, but to try and use whatever is happening in your favor. So for instance, in that situation, if I'm then looking like I'm going to make double to go 4 over, now can that just free me up and look at it in a way where things are happening for you, not things are happening against you. And if going to 4 over and hitting it OB just frees me up and takes a few thoughts out of my mind, hopefully I can finish very strong and still put an okay round in. So I think trying to use the situation in your favor as much as you can to try and spin whatever is happening in a way that's working for you rather than against you. I think it's something that helps me. But I think it's obviously each person will have their own way and own thought process in order to try and achieve that. But that's something that I try and do. Doesn't always happen, but I do try.
Is there something that you kind of have an inner conversation with yourself in that moment to kind of basically acknowledge the situation and say, okay, let me reset here and, let me stop, in a sense, maybe a downward spiral train if that's happening mentally, to like, okay, I accept it, or, I'm seeing it, and let me let me do what I can to slow that down or stop it, and if there are certain techniques or things that you do or certain phrases, is that okay to share, or things like that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. For me, I really try and focus on my breathing, and even just really tuning into my senses, whether that's how my feet feel on the floor, deeper breaths that I'm taking, or things along those lines. I think it's difficult for me to just say that I just do this one thing, because I feel like there are a number of different parts that work at different times for me. Again, sometimes that's perspective, sometimes that's speaking to myself, sometimes that's taking myself away from the course, or trying to remember a point where I feel very happy and peaceful, or another time that I might need to gear myself up, where I might be a bit more aware of score or whatever. So I think for me, I just try and read how I feel and then try and give myself what I need to counteract what I feel. So I try and go about it in different ways at different times to just react to the situation, really. But the breath is something that I do try and come back to. That comes up quite often, and just really trying to stay present.
So would it be amazing if there was one thing that could help you kind of like shift that, and you can rely on that aspect to just say, okay, I'm in that typical situation where I'm at, and here would be a tool or a way to shift it, and then be able to go forward and have that consistency, because it sounds like you try different things and then it's like, is it working or is it not working? It would be kind of amazing, like, this is working for me, like,
definitely. I guess it's similar to the golf game, I think, in many ways, where I think everyone has certain fundamentals and keys that work for them. I think it's similar in the mental side, that there might be certain things that you constantly come back to. For me, I think that breathing is pretty central. But I think similar to the parallel with the golf game, you've always got to have the flexibility and fluidity to react to whatever is happening, whether you're drawing it a little bit more than normal, or whether you're pushing it on that day, or whether your swing doesn't feel quite right. Just knowing the little adjustments that you need to make, where you're not swinging it in a completely new way, or you're trying brand new things, but you're just reacting to the situation that you're in. And I think there's a parallel in the mental side of it there as well, where there are fundamentals that I think are good to come back to. But I think it's hard to be so set in your way to say this is always going to work. So I feel like that isn't always the case, because there are so many changing factors on the golf course, both the conditions, the lies that we face, how we feel, the situation that we're in. So I think it's that fine balance between having your go-to things, but also reacting to the situation to try and give yourself the best chance.
Yeah. And I was meaning more on the mental side. So like, if you find like your mind is like starting to run amok in that maybe typical pattern when things go astray, it's like, okay, let me ground you back here. Because do you ever consider, like, if it's going astray, it's really, what it's happening is it's inviting you to get stronger with yourself in that moment. Like you said, like you work with your breathing, but also like, okay, I see some things are challenging right now. Oh, from a mental side, what if I kind of step it up a notch or two to really bring my clarity and focus here, because what appears to be a challenge, maybe I'm on the doorway of great success by turning this shot around. And that's what I'm curious about. That's what I'm speaking to you about on that level.
Yeah.
You know,
that's a great point. I definitely don't have the answers to that. I think that's the cool thing about the game in general. There are so many different facets, and I think each person figures out their own unique way to try and answer some of the questions that you raise there. And I'm definitely learning as much as anyone else in the whole of this. There are certain things that work for me, but I'm by no means a finished product in that respect.
And you definitely honor your culture and background with, seeing that pride to, when you're playing India and things, or other players, to do your very best. I was just curious how, by playing on the tour this year, did, kind of new goals, or not necessarily new goals, but opportunities, or feeling like I can open the doorway to younger Indian golfers and, are out there that see me as maybe a role model, or, and kind of feel like I really calling on my presence to do is my very best to, kind of honor the culture and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's probably not something I've thought a huge amount about. I think trying to do the right things and have a good attitude on the course and try and treat people with respect and try and be as kind as I can hopefully sets an example to hopefully show some good qualities for anyone that may follow or watch. And I think in general that's the best way to really, I feel that's the best way to inspire. I think you've got to set the standard yourself rather than trying to say all the right things. I think it's a lot easier to say the right things as opposed to try and walk in those shoes and follow your own lead and your own example. So I think if I can do that, hopefully whatever knock-on effect it has is pretty positive overall. It's never always positive and it's never always negative, but hopefully it's more on the positive side. And that's not really something that's in my control as to what effect that I have, but hopefully it's something that is constructive and not destructive.
Gotcha. A few last questions. I was just curious, you say you focus a lot with your breath. Is that connected to, let's say, a meditation style, or also any kind of, as you're playing, any connections of, let's say, a spirit or spirituality when you're on the golf course to, kind of bring those maybe awarenesses or teaching to help you achieve your greatest potential?
Yeah, I think when I feel very stressed on the course, I resort to box breathing. Or breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4. And that normally helps to bring me back to a more kind of even keel. I think when I feel a little bit off-centered, but not really off-centered, I'll really just try and almost taste the air and really slow my breathing down and really feel all the aspects of it. And again, if I focus enough on that, it takes me away from the thoughts that I'm having, which generally brings me back to more of a central point. In terms of practices, I do try and meditate in the morning and before bed. It's something I used to do a lot growing up. It's something I drifted away from in recent years, but it's something that I've built the habits of kind of getting back to over the last few months, which has really helped. And those are just guided meditations, guided morning meditations and guided evening meditations. So that's pretty much all I do at the moment.
Gotcha. Thank you very much, Aaron. I appreciate who you are just as a person, I yearn for more golfers like you.
It's very kind.
Yeah,
Very kind. Yeah,
you bet.
thank you very much.
Well, that was fascinating. Thank you so much for doing that. What is your takeaways from your conversation with him?
Whew. Okay. So as you heard, I was sharing with him how he's going to proceed this year. Last year was his rookie year in the PGA. Do you have new goals, new ideas, new things that you want to achieve? And his response was kind of like, well, I'm just taking it as it comes,
Right.
and those kind of approaches. And I personally don't subscribe to that point of view. As a peak performance coach, as a passionate athlete and pursuer of excellence and success, as well as a student of the great players in golf who have won the most. Talking Tiger Woods, we're talking Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, even, Gary Player. All of these guys came to play a tournament to win. All of them. And no questions about it. Play their very best and win, not just I'll just see how it goes and what happens. And again, please understand, there's nothing wrong with, I'm just going to play it as it goes. I'm not criticizing that. I'm saying let's use our abilities and access our mind and our intentions. If you choose to, it elevates your game, elevates your mental state, elevates your game, elevates your play, elevates your energy as a human being on and off the golf course. So that's what I'm always interested in looking for. What kind of edge can you have over your competitor? How can you improve yourself by 1%, constantly? And so Aaron, shared, I do have some challenges. His approach is, I kind of take it fluidly, I just deal with it as it comes. And he said, but I don't have the answers. And that's what gets me. Fred, that just blows my mind, because I see it from amateur players, elite amateur players, and he's not the only one that I've interviewed at the PGA top level who are aware of their challenges, but are not doing things and integrating elements to really, really improve those challenges and frustrations. And to me, it's why not? You are, especially at the PGA level, but I would say even at the amateur level, but I'm saying at the PGA level, because this is your profession. You're leaving what we would call figuratively and literally money on the table, and a huge amounts, not just getting by the cut and, getting a paycheck, but to get up that leaderboard and to be at the top, not just one or two or maybe three times in a season, but what about consistently? That consistently you were there. Look at Tiger Woods. He's consistently on the top of that leaderboard. Consistently, some of the things that blow me away about Tiger, by the way, and this is just, to me, whether you like him as a player or not, just looking at his statistics, just look at him as a performer.
Over a block of time. Because he's not the same player.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But I'm talking in his height, in the height, right?
Okay, in his prime.
In his prime. Tiger very rarely came from behind to win a tournament. Definitely came from behind, but come Sunday, that was rare he would be coming from behind. On the opposite, on Sunday, if he was leading the tournament, very rarely did he give that up.
Right. And everybody around him was totally intimidated by his presence when he had the lead.
Yes. And that, where did that come from? How there's a realness to about it. Yes, he had tactics and things that he did, but there was an energy about him. There was an intensity, a desire and drive, a kind of pedal to the metal, put your foot on the on the throat kind of thing, and just won't let up. That just doesn't come from, that wasn't in his bag of tricks with his clubs. That's in his bag of his peak performance thinking. Mm-hmm. These are what I'm talking about. And again, there are different personalities and different things. Gary Player talks about this. Like he said, there are guys on the PGA Tour who come for a paycheck, and again, like there's nothing wrong with that. And then there are guys who are there to win. And that's just that. There's more to this that maybe we'll talk about, like what comes in the way of that. I'm just, and again, please, if you're listening to this, understand I'm coming from a place of acceptance of all. And where I'm coming from is a place of truly, if you are frustrated with your level of play and your challenges that you see consistently are happening, there is something you can do about that. And most of these things, a lot of them, are not about swing changes. They're peak performance changes. And in essence, they're not hard to make. They're just new and new to integrate. But it's also, I go, why not? If you can drop 5 strokes in a round and bring your game to new heights, why not? Regardless if you're, just a golfer who just loves to play and doesn't compete, or you are in a competing situation and play in tournaments, why not?
But doesn't that introduce expectation? Don't you, of like, I better win or else?
Okay, good question. Really good question. No, not from when you have a method and understanding. I'll just share a little bit about that?
Yes, please.
So, yes, before you enter a tournament, there are definite peak performance tools that you can do and ascertain goals and visualizations and, putting in thoughts. I'll just speak to goals for a second. Any salesmen, any business people listening to this podcast? Probably.
They're golfers, yeah. I'd say
probably
so.
A lot. Do business people have goals to set goals for their monthly sales, yearly sales? Most would say yes, right?
Yes, right.
And especially top salespeople, I would say vast majority have those goals for what? To push themselves, to reach for that, plus deeper.
But those are imposed goals. Those are
Hold
imposed goals by their managers.
Oh, it can be. Many are individuals, right? Many. You got to take that on as an individual and an entrepreneur, or if you are even in that sense. Okay. Now, to get there, yeah, you face challenges, you face failures, you don't achieve them, but you keep working on them. And if you keep working on those goals, there's truly nothing to stop you. You will achieve them. The only thing that often stops us is the 6-inch space between our ears, our own self. So it's the same thing with golf. However, Fred, I will say this. If you do put yourself in the fire of goals, you better have a method and a system to deal with it. Because why? You're going to get challenged what I call the army of the aliens, which is your own self. And what that is your subconscious. Your subconscious is going to send you what I call negative thoughts, like this one. You're in 17th, 18th hole, you're putting for a birdie, a crucial situation. And you might, as you're getting prepared in your pre-shot routine, you might hear in your head, oh, you're going to blow this one again, like you've done so many times. And for the unprepared golfer, the golfer who doesn't have a method, that's probably enough to shake them in their boots or to give them a little sweat in their palms, their heart beats a little quicker, their mind goes off a little bit, and they don't sink that putt. That's frustrating, especially when they know they have the talent and they've done it before. But here they are in that pressure situation, and it happens again and again and again. Now, the other side of the story. The same thing happens, and you hear, oh, you're going to blow this birdie putt like you've done so many times. Now, the golfer who has methods and uses this process, especially from the perspective I look at, that's actually success statement. That's actually your subconscious is telling you, like for you, Fred, you're about to sink this putt, Fred, and have success and maybe take your game to a whole nother level. But it asks you these questions to test your own personal resolve, your preparation, and your readiness to step into that success. And when you use the methods that I share, and other people have other methods too, but ones that I share, you actually laugh at that, you relax, and you go through a simple process to turn that around, and you take a breath, you do the process, you sink that putt, and you achieve success. So the negative, what we appear as negative, isn't negative at all. It's the opposite. It's success. It's positive. But I will say this, if you're a golfer and you just start and you kind of half-assed say, okay, I'm going to have this goal and this goal and this goal, and I'm going to start using these affirmations and anchors, and you're not prepared. You don't understand that you have to deal with things that are going to come in your way that challenge you when you raise up your game to these goals. You're in trouble. And I would say in those kind of things, in some cases, it's better you don't have goals and just play your very best or until you get a full-rounded perspective to know how to handle that when it's happening, because more than likely it's going to happen. Kobe Bryant said, his by far most challenging competitor was no one on the basketball court, was his own self. And he talked a lot about those things. Okay. So it's, to me, yes, it's great to have goals, and you will achieve them as long as you have a method to understand the process and apply yourself. And not just that, get excited about, flourishing in adversity. Because that's what golf is, man. Like the golf architect and the golf course itself, you are going to be challenged, right? Day in and day out. And if you come to that and with passion, with acceptance, with knowing you are going to have a tee shot that goes out, goes way off course. You are going to have shots that don't go your way. But you also, in that, you can accept that, and you have methods to keep your mental state calm and enjoy the process and know how to focus on your next target with intention. You're going to do great. You're going to do great, no matter what level you are.
Awesome.
How does that sound to you, Fred?
Fascinating. And I want to dig deeper into it, but I want to take a break first. We'll be right back. We're going to get into the Camilo Villegas interview in this segment too, but I want to know, you talked about methods, you talked about process. Are those different?
Ooh, methods and process.
Yeah.
Whew. Well, in a way, the methods, there's a process for sure, but the method, kind of almost in a way, a process can be included in the method. The methods there can be many different levels. And there's a process, yes, but the process you're kind of dealing with at each shot, each hole, things like that.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Let's talk about the conversation that you had with Camilo Villegas. Okay. Because we've not had him on before, right?
No. Correct.
No. So you want to set it up, or do you want to go right to it?
Yeah, let's go right into it, and then we could talk about it.
Okay, here we go.
Name's Cary Valentine, and I work with Golf Podcast, Golf Smarter. Just love to chat with you a little bit on the positive side of the mental game. And I was just curious, as you start this new year, is there things that you go through, like between the end of last year and this year to kind of like, okay, I want to reset on certain areas or look at certain, things to kind of re-spark or re-inspire you or things like that?
Well, I mean, first things first, I'm very excited to be here. It's obviously it's been a kind of bumpy road here the last few years, and winning at the end of last season was really cool, man. I was very proud of myself. I was very excited with the energy I received, which was awesome. And then from there on, when you talk about kind of resetting for this year, once again, I'm happy to be playing on the PGA Tour again, and if that's not motivation, then what is it? And but at the same time, you gotta stick to your process, and you gotta do the same thing. So you gotta prepare the right way. You gotta once again stick to the process. You can't get ahead of yourself. You're gonna have good weeks, average weeks, and bad weeks, and you gotta stay patient. The year is long. They seem to be going quicker and quicker every year, but they're still. Last year was a perfect example of how things were not going great, but I was very patient, and it paid off at the end. So the idea is to keep working with my golf instructor, keep working with my mental coach, and just stick to the process.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And what elements with that, with mentally, let's say you're playing in a round and hit a few bad shots, and you can see maybe the mind kind of kicks in there in maybe a negative way. Is there certain techniques or things you do to bring you back to center?
There are. I mean, there's a lot of breathing exercises. There's a lot of stuff about just controlling your tension, and just don't be reactive. One of the keys is not to react to great shots, not to react to bad shots, and just try to keep it as even. What's up, bro? Keep it as even as it is, because it's no different than going to the casino. Still getting emotional, and then it's gonna get you. The game of golf is a tricky one, and it gets you if you start getting emotional. So you just want to maintain your composure. What do you do with that? You just gotta. There's a lot of breathing stuff that I've been doing, and it really helps me just kind of put things aside and bring me back to center.
Mm-hmm. And feel for you for the loss of your daughter. I had a late wife who passed on through a brain tumor, so same. And I just was wondering as well. I see on your bag, and you're bringing that thought and inspiration. What are you taking from that in your life?
Yeah, it's been unbelievable. It's been a crazy journey. Obviously, nobody wants to lose a daughter or a wife in your case. So sorry to hear about that. But you gotta accept. I think the main thing is acceptance. Accept that life is life, and it's not pretty all the time. So once you accept the things that happen, you can put a plan together to keep moving forward. In this case, Mia's miracles have been a great inspiration. It's opened our hearts to help others. It just fills our heart every time we can add 2 cents to making somebody smile, somebody in need. Because we were one of those individuals when we were at the hospital, and I know there's a lot of people that need the support. And that's the way we're approaching it. We're approaching it with a big heart. We know Mia's in the right place. It was a tough battle that she wasn't gonna win. Things were getting really nasty, and it was time for her to rest. So again, I'm at peace to where she is, and I have accepted what happened and the reason why it happened, and we keep moving forward.
I was curious if you have a salsa playlist to get you inspired at all. Like
I do have a little salsa playlist, and it's called Salsa Vieja. I like the old school stuff, and
yes.
it's good. It's good.
Yeah. Mark Anthony, or even older.
Oh yeah.
For sure. Sonia Cruz.
Oh yeah. A lot of the old guys, the Willie Colon and Rafi Lavitte and all those guys.
Sí. I'm a conguero as
Oh, really?
well. So,
Oh, love it.
so I just have learned to,
Good.
love. I lived in Brazil for
Did you?
some time,
Oh, man.
so
Awesome.
I just embrace the spirit of South
Yes,
Americans.
for
It's
sure.
a beautiful
Good.
element, and thank you for your time and
welcome.
information.
Thank you, man.
And much
Hey,
success this
thank you,
year,
man.
right?
How you doing?
Okay, so.
Wow. That was, he's gone through a lot. He was kind of gone for a while, and now I'm like, oh, that's why. That was powerful stuff that he opened up right to you, man. That was very impressive that he was able to do that and go there with you.
Yeah, and I really appreciate it. And
Sure.
Unfortunately, I've gone through not my own, but family and loved ones who've had incredible, challenging health issues, and somewhat similar to his daughter to a certain degree. So there was quite an empathy there that I felt in with him on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And what were your takeaways from that conversation?
Oh, I love that he is feeling the appreciation and gratitude to be back playing, just to be back playing golf, but also being back at a high level.
Yeah.
And, anything like that of, a husband or wife, of a child going through health issues and an unfortunate death. That's super challenging. And yet he's using it to inspire himself. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful story, and that's kind of life, out of the ashes, the phoenix will rise if you dare to do it, if you dare to go there. And it's making him and his wife a better persons, a better couple, and is giving us the opportunity to ride that wave of inspiration in our own selves, right? To look at our own lives and how we can improve in our own self as we face adversity.
Sure, and that's much more than mental game training or peak performance. Now this is life. It's a very different beast, right?
Yes and no, because again, the methods that I share and work with folks on, golfers and other athletes, they're constantly sharing with me, Cary, what you're sharing with me to improve on the athletic field is also helping me to be a better person.
Wow.
And I'm calmer, I'm more confident, I'm more caring, and it's just making my relationships better. And they all, that helps then your athletic abilities, right? Like then whatever you do, you got that support and comfort and confidence behind you, that the people that you love are supporting you. You go do an incredible, I'm getting chicken skin. We say that in Hawaii, all over my body, chills. Then you go and perform even better at new heights on your whatever athletic realm you do, or any realm you do, whether that's business or arts or music or things like that. And then you come back and it's a cycle that just builds on itself, and that energy of growing in the capacity as a person and an achievement, to know. I think that's one of the beautiful things, that when you're an individual who have pushed yourself through adversity, you know what you've been through. Maybe not a lot of other people do, but you know what you've dealt with, and you know what it has taken, and the grit and the consistency to get there. And then when you achieve it, you're like, wow, that it was worth it. It was a heck of a ride, but man, it was worth it.
Yeah, it's so challenging when you're in it, but when you get to look at it from the other side, God willing, I mean, like if you get to be on the other side and look at it, it's like, ooh, I made it, and got stronger for it, right?
100%. And as I said, like, I've dealt with a wife who passed on through a brain tumor. It was devastating to me, to her. And yet here I am years later. I didn't expect my life to go in the way it did, but I expected to get back into a relationship. I expected to get married, but didn't expect to have that with kids. But that's where it was. My wife had children. So I was like, okay, I'll sign up. I care for you so much. Like, I'll be daddy in training and learn about this. And it's been amazing. So again, going through the adversity, you just like the sun is shining on the other side of the clouds. You got to go through the grieving, the challenging, whatever it is. It takes time, but you keep going forward, and life will support you. Life wants to support you. So just whether it's in golf or as a person. So just to share that.
Thank you. You've been doing this now, talking to athletes, working on mental game performance for a number of years now. How has it evolved from your perspective?
How has it evolved for me, or the field of mental game peak performance?
From your perspective, how the field has evolved.
Okay. Okay. You're asking? I'll share. I'll do it. So the field has definitely evolved. More acceptance. I mean, years ago, I personally felt like I was an oddball. Like to talk to athletes about their mental game, mental health, to talk to anybody at that point, pre-COVID, and especially guys, talking to them about their mental, emotional health was a bit of a challenge. Okay. Now, since COVID, we have at least accepted. We've gone to this place of saying, everyone has these challenges and mental health challenges, and some are dealing with depression, some are dealing with suicidal tendencies, all these things. And so it's more out in the open, more acceptance, more acceptable. And I feel we need more tools, better tools still, to deal with people dealing with depression, dealing with suicide, dealing with peak performance, whether that's just in life, as an athlete, as a business person, things like that. And part of that is what I was sharing earlier. This is serious. I mean, when you if you're willing to take yourself on and go through the fire of the challenges, you're going to be challenged. It's kind of like in any sport. Let's say you play football. Like, the quarterback, I'm a running back. The quarterback's just going to pass to me every time. I got to, run 50 yards, 60 yards, catch the ball, easy, touchdown. No, it ain't going to happen. You're going to meet adversity, the defense. But then you learn and you know how to deal with the defense. And in life, defense here is your own brain, your subconscious, who's trying to help you. But that's the key. Most people think like, I got this wrong machine in their head. And I'm not going to get into it today, probably, but believe me, if there was the poster boy for adversity and doubt and fear and all of that, I'm on it. Without a doubt. What I've come through is unbelievable. And so that's why I have so much confidence and passion to help others, because I've seen what you can go through. So what's happening in the field, it's growing. It's expanding. There's a lot more people in the field, which is fantastic. And I would love to see more of people taking on those deeper emotions rather than mentalizing it, trying to get over it. Okay. And what I'm talking about is go into it. Go into those emotions. What are they really telling you? What's going on there? And have the right people with the right tools and skill sets to get you through that. Because what I've seen personally and with folks that I've assisted, when you do it this way, you actually, those patterns, those doubts, those fears, they change. You can clear them out and then be in the zone in life and in your particular sport, and for golfers. And so you don't have that keep running story that it's going on. I'll give another example, please. I'm humbled to say it, but I'm saying this for a purpose. I love Steph Curry as a basketball player and as a person. Is pretty amazing what he's gone through. But he has said, he still deals with doubts. He deals with doubts that he had when he was a kid, when he was younger. And they're still around. They've gotten somewhat better, but they're still around. And he uses it to keep him in place and check. And, he deals with it in his own way. And I'm saying, Steph, man, I'd love to have a conversation with you to say, those can be gone. Could you imagine them gone? Could you imagine they're not there anymore? And how much more freed up energy and space you'll have and peace in your life and in your basketball, playing, and for golfers, that it's gone. It's really gone. Because why? It's not there to harm or hurt you. It's there to say, are you ready to pass this test? And when you pass the test and go through the doorway by using certain methods, it clears out and you elevate yourself. The cool thing, Fred, is I don't need to prove anything to people I work with. I don't try to force it on them. I share with them, and then I say, you be a scientist. You tell me, is it working or not? You tell me. That's the proof in the pudding in your own body. And they come back, man, Cary, yeah, it's changing. And I'm able to be more focused. I'm able to have more success. I'm in the zone more, and I'm extending that elasticity of the zone to stay there more. And I'm enjoying my life and my golf game much, much more.
Awesome. Tell us, how do you find you on the web?
A few different ways. If this is interesting to you and you are interested to, kind of like lower your score by 5 strokes, bring your game to new heights, please check out unleashgolf.com. That's unleashgolf.com. And what that brings you to is from time to time, I do live trainings where I go deeply into this, and I keep it very intimate and small group so I can really help the people that are there. And so you can sign up for trainings.
Fabulous. Cary, I really appreciate the effort you put into this every year. It's so much fun to be able to hear these pros talking about the mental game, their perspective on it, and the reality of it. It is so much fun, and it's always great to reconnect with you, man.
Same here, Fred, and I'm so grateful and excited each time I have this opportunity with you. So thank you. And it is really impressive to see how the podcast has grown. I am so impressed of your success and your passion of doing this. You bring on so many amazing quality, speakers on the subject, and it's really, really impressive. So thank you for having me on.
And thank you for spending that time getting that tape. That's really amazing stuff. I also want to thank our newest Golf Smarter ambassador, Jeff Pavlina of Pinehurst, North Carolina. Jeff plays at Pinehurst number 6 regularly. How awesome is that? So often when I receive these requests and recordings, I think, ooh, it would be fun to play with them on their home course. But Jeff, when I finally make it out to North Carolina, and it is on my golf bucket list, you better be ready to host. And I'll remind you, you are a Golf Smarter ambassador for episode 938. So what about you? How would you like to be a Golf Smarter ambassador? Get a choice of 3 free gifts just for sharing with us where you're from and where you play. And you get to be on the podcast. Just write to me directly and I'll send you some very simple instructions on how to record and send it to me. Check out today's show notes to find the links on each gift you have to choose from. And also want to remind you that the links to our sponsors and their special offers are also in the show notes. Please check them out as a way to say thank you for keeping the Golf Smarter podcast coming week after week after week. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for upcoming episodes, or you want to be a Golf Smarter ambassador, write to golfsmarterpodcast@gmail.com or click on the Hey Fred button when you visit golfsmarter.com.